information that I'm giving you. So I want everybody to put their pencils down and just give me full attention. All right. So we've been talking about line and we've been using line. Now we're going to start talking about shapes a little bit. And we're going to be kind of talking about shapes here for a little while. So shapes is our second element of art. And we are just focusing on geometric. Okay, so there's two types of shapes, organic and geometric. We're going to talk about organic later. So a shape is a closed line and a shape is flat. So shape is two-dimensional and it's generally something seen in outline. Okay, so here it talks about positive and negative shape. We're going to talk about that on a different project. And then a shape, boundaries, they can also be implied by a change in color values or texture. We talked about implied lines. That was when you guys we did that line exercise and you were telling me what lines to draw, and some of you did like a dashed line or dotted. Well, really those were just a group of dots, but since they were all in a row, they implied like a line. Does everybody understand that? Yeah, so same thing with shapes. You can kind of do the same thing that way. So geometric, what those shapes are, they're precise, regular, and often mathematical, like a square, triangles, and circles. Okay, so mathematical in the sense of they can be divided up evenly into smaller parts. All right, so let's keep looking at that. So here's some examples that I gave you guys. The top two, they are technically geometric, but they're kind of irregular shapes. I mean, they fit that category, but they're a little different. So you're looking for consistent edges, often made from straight lines that can be mathematically divisible in equal parts, so I just said that. So I gave you some examples. Circle, oval, that one's a kind of there. Triangles, ton of those. Squares, rectangles, parallelograms, diamonds, trapezoids, all that great stuff. And then you get into where you start getting your multiple sides, your polygons. So you've got like your pentagon, how many sides is that? Good. And then you got your hexagon, which is how many? Good. And then you actually, that next one is the septagon. That's 7. Octagon. And then you've got decagon. Decagon is 10. I did that this morning. I was like, 8, 9, no, not 9, 10. So 10 is decagon, and then that last one actually has 12 sides. And I've forgotten what that name is. Dodecagon? Yeah. Is it? Okay. So like any of those will work. So why I'm showing you these shapes is your background is going to be made up of geometric shapes and line work. So let's start looking at a lot of different examples. And a lot of the examples I have when we are really looking at subject matter and the geometric shapes together are a lot of tattoos. That style is kind of really in right now. Okay, so geometric shapes as designed. Sometimes it's centered up, sometimes it can be asymmetrical. Okay, there's a lot of repeating. You guys see that? Where you can take the same shape and you can repeat it over and over again and you get kind of a new design. So in these, you're kind of looking at repetition, repeating. That's a principle. Kind of a pattern. Usually repeating makes a pattern. And doing a lot of like overlapping. So when you're overlapping a particular shape, I can use my little laser pointer here. So like on this one, well, we just have diamonds that are just overlapped or square on its side. Overlapped over and over again, but then we start getting new shapes where they overlap. Everybody see that? Okay. All right, so you actually have some others here where you use like different shapes inside larger shapes. Here, they're still using the same shape, but they varied the size. That's called variety. You have given a variety of sizes. Some of them aren't completely, so you only technically have like 2 circles in here, but then they've worked off of kind of a half. They've got some line designs in here. Some of them have endpoints. Some of the lines are bold. Some of them come out from a central point. Or some of them, like I said, are asymmetrically balanced. You can really go way far with that. Okay, does anybody have any questions over kind of geometric shapes as a design? No? Okay, let's start looking at some examples. All right, so here's some tattoos where we're putting our subject matter, for you guys that's your insect, and then we're putting this line design together, okay? Some of your guys' insect are so large on your paper that your line design is going to be fairly minimal and just works around your subject matter. Just kind of peeks through where you have some empty space. Some of you did a smaller like insect, or you had to get a couple, and you've got more space, so your line design, your background is going to show up quite a bit more, okay? So, kind of start thinking about what shapes do you want to use in your background. Do they have to like go with your insect? No. For me, I did that. So this one was mine. I have the Luna moth. And Luna is kind of like lunar, and moths are kind of little night creatures anyway. And I chose to do circles, but then what did I do to my circles?
You made them into the phases of the moon.
Bam! I made them into the phases of the moon, okay? You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Some people, like, we looked at examples of bees, and we talked about hexagons, okay? Because bees naturally make hexagons in their own little bee lives, okay? So in my project, I focused on circles and triangles, and I've got repetition. I've changed the sizes on some of them, and then my circles, I kind of went around. Obviously, I couldn't fit them in like a circle, so I placed them in there kind of in a different format, okay? So this is what's kind of going on here. Think of how can your lines help you like look at your subject matter. So this one, a lot of these lines are either coming out of the pyramid or they're kind of like directing your eye into the pyramid. And this one is only made up of straight lines and circles. And then they've done a little bit of design work in some of those like new shapes that were made. You can do dashes, you can do dots, you can do solid lines, you can do thick lines versus thin lines, okay? Let's look at some more. If you are wanting to do this kind of like fade shading that's in those, does everybody see that? You can do it, but it's like with your permanent marker, it's little teeny tiny dots. So the darker that they are, the dots are really close together, and then you move them further and further apart as you want them to get lighter. Okay, here's some more. This one's got some better examples of different line thicknesses. Okay, all right, here's some that's closer to what we're working on. So we have our insect subject matter, and then we have our geometric pattern behind. Some of them kind of complement the forms. That's kind of almost what I did on mine. If you look at the moth, it's almost kind of the top part here is triangular, and then so we almost have a mirrored triangle image there. That one's a cicada. The line design's a kind of a little closer and actually goes like over the body. Okay, here's a couple more. So we've already seen that bee. I just kind of repeated that. This one, I liked the layout where they have kind of a main triangle, and then they've done a lot of different work up there. Okay, there's some more. This one's done with like all dotted lines, and then they've got some filled in shapes around. Not everything is a straight line. Okay? All right, so let's talk about your must-haves. For this project, your insect as subject matter should be drawn large or in multiples. You need to have 10 different Zentangle designs inside the insect. You need to have a variety of light and dark designs. Your border is drawn in as part of the work. You've got a geometrically designed background, and finish with thin Sharpie. That's gonna be the last thing we do. So, in talking about the geometric line design, is everybody good on that? Do I need to do a type of demonstration where I would kind of show you how you get that started, or do you guys get the gist? What I'm looking for. I'm seeing head nods like we get the gist. Okay,